Garnet being the owner of the burning room might be the biggest plot hole on the show. The burning room, also known as the bubble room, is easily the single most important room in the entire temple, and that's mainly because of the fact that this room was the place where Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl, and our boy Steven's bubbles would end up after restraining a new corrupted gem.
Only Garnet is allowed in there.
Who had been saying that? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
Yet, at the same time, we'd learned from Amethyst during the beginning of the season 1 episode titled Secret Team that the burning room was literally supposed to have been viewed as being Garnet's room.
What is she doing with a rose quartz bubble? My mom bubbled that? Garnet's gonna be so mad.
Which seems to make a ton of sense at first glance, right? Because we'd very curiously only ever see Garnet unlocking the burning room from the outside. And there's also the fairly suspicious fact that the Croniverse, being the writers of the show, would make sure to establish early on during season 1 that the other crystal gems could have still entered the burning room without Garnet's knowledge by traveling through its many secret access points in the temple.
Room, I need to go to the basement. The real basement. I know there's a way down from here.
An extremely subtle detail that can be proven during the episodes when Steven, or you know, one of the other crystal gems besides Garnet, would choose to visit the burning room.
I just wanted to see how the shards are reacting to Rose's bubble. And it's none of your business.
I think it's Garnet's business.
But yeah, how in the world could it be possible for the burning room to have been Garnet's room all along when we'd undeniably learned from Sardonyx during the season 4 episode titled Know Your Fusion that her room as a gem fusion only existed inside of the temple while she existed?
You have a room in the temple?
It exists as long as I exist.
I mean, why would the crystal gems, why would Rose Quartz, who was the original leader of the team, take such a major risk by choosing to give our girl Garnet, a fusion who had the chance of unfusing at any point in the future, the responsibility of being the owner of what appears to be the single most important room in the entire temple?
He's out of line. But he's right.
And why didn't the same thing that happened to Sardonyx's room after Sardonyx would come undone during the climax of Know Your Fusion also happen to the burning room during the many episodes when Garnet would come undone?
Wow, you took that pretty well. Way better than Garnet did.
How so?
She unfused over it.
What? No!
Well, I'm actually convinced that I finally figured out how every single one of these seemingly contradicting details about the burning room and the temple in general could definitely all be correct at the exact same time without the existence of any plot holes for the series, and that's because of how the crystal heart has always secretly worked, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
What about this one?
Whoa, Steven, wait! Only Garnet is allowed in there.
Alright, so remember when I said at the beginning of the video that Garnet being the owner of the burning room might be the biggest plot hole on the show? Well, if I'm being honest, then we've technically never been told that Garnet was the sole owner of the burning room.
You what?
All we've ever been told is that Garnet was the only surviving member of the crystal gems who was allowed inside of the burning room, which can be confirmed by the strange fact that Pearl felt the need to sneak her way into the room in order for her to have some extremely creepy alone time with one of Rose Quartz's old bubbles.
What is she doing with a rose quartz bubble?
My mom bubbled that?
I mean, Pearl was kicking at our girl Amethyst after she'd threatened to tell on her for making the mistake of even setting foot inside of a burning room without Garnet's permission.
Don't tell her.
How are you gonna stop me?
And this scene, along with us visibly being able to confirm that Garnet was the only one of the crystal gems who has ever unlocked the burning room from the outside, leads me to believe that the area was built specifically with her in mind, which would make it Garnet's room, but just not in the traditional sense as we'll be discussing later on.
This is all very nice, but it doesn't solve the mystery.
Moving on, after our boys Steven and Amethyst would come up with the admirable plan of introducing Garnet and Pearl to Smoky Quartz inside of the beach house during the opening of Know Your Fusion,
Steven, Amethyst, is there something you'd like to tell us?
Garnet and Pearl would of course respond to their actions by forming Sardonyx as soon as they'd managed to compose themselves.
Oh, what?
leading Sardonyx to explaining a couple of new details to Smoky Quartz, and by extension us as the audience, about the way that the rooms inside of the temple have always worked.
You have a room in the temple?
It exists as long as I exist.
Now, we verifiably already know that Sardonyx's room doesn't have the same rules as the rooms that were confirmed to have been owned by the other crystal gems, which includes Rose's room, Amethyst's room, Pearl's room, and yes, even the burning room. Based on the intriguing events of the season 1 episode titled The Test, we should be able to come to the conclusion that the crystal gems were capable of creating brand new rooms inside of a temple whenever they felt like it, and I'm thinking that these rooms must have followed the exact same rules as Sardonyx's room, which is to say that they were temporary and can't be accessed without the crystal gems actively putting their minds together and choosing to do so. I mean, when you actually take a step back and think about it, then the trial grounds that were created when Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl would unlock the temple door with all 4 of their gemstones must have actually been Alexandrite's room, which, similar to Sardonyx's room, should have only been able to exist as long as she existed. When Steven would make up his mind to release Bismarck from a bubble during the season 5 episode titled Maid of Honor, in order for him to explain the truth behind Pink Diamond shattering and formally invite her to Garnet's wedding, we'd get confirmation that unlike Sardonyx's room inside of the temple, which was very much only temporary, the burning room, along with basically every single one of the other rooms that were connected to the crystal heart, were in all likelihood permanent and not directly tied to the well-being of the specific gems.
This is the crystal heart! Oh! It's connected to the most dangerous areas of the temple!
Which makes a ton of sense, right? Because building a room which was as important and essential as the burning room, with the possibility of the entire place breaking apart whenever Garnet came undone during a fight or something, just seems like a horrible idea. Pearl would explain to Steven during the early season 1 episode titled Together Breakfast that the crystal heart was, and I quote, connected to the most dangerous areas of the temple. And I'm convinced that this was because of the fact that one of the main functions of the crystal heart was to ensure that none of those said dangerous locations that it was directly linked to would ever accidentally break apart and cause a disaster, to say the least. This idea would perfectly explain why the burning room was the only location that was designed to have had multiple veins of a crystal heart built directly into its very foundation. The crystal gems wanted to be sure that the room would never ever break apart, even if Garnet were to ever come undone or, you know, get bubbled herself in the future for some reason. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this discussion, and I'm really hoping that Last of Us stars will be able to find the time to reveal the truth behind the burning room to all of us, because I'm sure that it's another great contender to get revealed as being one of the darkest secrets of a fallen gem empire.